have two, we're recording. We're thrilled today to have two very experienced realtors joining us. They're here to impart their wisdom to us, and we're extremely, privileged to have them today. And they are Scott Geller and Barb Maty. I'll start with Scott. Scott Geller has many designations, including C2EX, ABR, CRS, GRI, ePro, and At Home with Diversity. He just mentioned before we got on that his favorite title is that he's a brand new grandpa. So that's his favorite title. Congrats, Scott. And so just a little bit more about Scott. He was the second accredited buyer representative designee and a pioneer for buyer agency in Pennsylvania. He's a PA certified residential appraiser and a licensed associate broker in PA. Is somebody, Raymond, we're viewing your screen, so sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. I think Raymond, you accidentally showed us your screen. So back to you, Scott. He's a PA certified residential appraiser and a licensed associate broker in PA. He also provides expert witness and litigation support, testimony, and reports. He was honored as one of RIS Media Real Estate Newsmakers 2020 Influencers, the Thought Leaders, and one of their 2021 Influencers, Futurists, the Forward Thinkers. He's also been recognized by the Philadelphia Inquirer in the past, and he's served on the BCAR's and PAR's board of directors and numerous committees. And he was the 2020 president for the Bucks County Association of Realtors. He had the privilege of doing this right as COVID started. So, he was mostly a COVID president, I'm gonna say. Our next speaker today is Barb Maty, and she's been a realtor for 32 years. She's a full-time realtor and full-time manager for the RE/MAX 440 office in Doylestown. She's a certified residential specialist. She's certified as a distressed property expert and is a member of the RE/MAX Hall of Fame. Barb is a past president of the Montgomery County Board of Realtors, and she serves as a director for both BCAR and the PA Board of Realtors now. She lives in North Wales with her husband, Joe, and her 3 pups, mother of 2. And Barb also mentioned that she has recently become a new grandma with baby Luca. So congrats to you, Barb, as well.
Thank you.
And I am going to now and I'm sorry, one more thing. In terms of questions, if you do have questions for the speakers, they're going to take them after each section. And just put your questions into the chat and we will get to you. If you don't know where the chat box is, it's at the bottom of your screen in a floating toolbar. Just click chat and just make sure it says choose everyone so we can all see your message. And with that, I'm going to turn the program over to Barb and Scott. Thanks.
All right. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So give me a few minutes and we will get this going. So how's everybody doing today? I know you can't chat. All right. So Scott and I pulled this together. I hope that you guys get a chance to enjoy it. The main point of why we were pulling this topic together is because we've, with this crazy market, seen a lot of really crazy things going on. And I'm sure all of you are just dying to get into the chat box and tell us more and more about that. So please use that tool and let us know what you're thinking as we go along. And what we'll do is we'll get to that after we get through some of these slides. So we're trying to talk about how to stay out of realtor jail. Hold on a second, I'm trying to pull up the chat. So one of my first complaints when I sat down with Scott was so many of us are texting or emailing directly from our phones, and we're we're actually not including an email signature with that. So I'll get people that'll send me an email and I'm driving down the road and I would just love to be able to click and call them back, but there's no signature involved in that. And it just, I don't know, Scott, what do you think? Have you run into this too?
So not only in emails, but also just text out of the blue saying, is this property still available? What are the showing instructions? And they don't identify themselves there either. So in both emails, texts, and all communications, I think it's very important for licensees to identify themselves as such. And I believe we're required to also in code, but just as a matter of good business practices, I think that we should do that. And you put up this the mysignature.io. I put the link up in the chat. So if anybody wants to look at that, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that app.
So the nice thing, my assistant actually found this, and she's great at knowing the technology and of it. She's a heck of a lot younger than me. But one of the things that this app actually does is it makes your phone number clickable or your email clickable. So if you're on your phone and you get an email from somebody that uses an email signature like this, and you're driving, all you have to do is click the button where the phone number is, and it takes you right into calling that person. Very, very convenient feature that they have with it. And it lets you get very artistic with what your signature is. Anything else you want to add with that, Scott?
No, I think that's a great app, and I think everybody should check that or a similar type app, or just basically be able to have the information handy no matter what you're using.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Let's talk about pictures.
Pictures, please. Go ahead. You run with that one.
So we're talking about the key to marketing yourself. And in a few different Facebook groups that I am in, real estate related groups, I put out that we were doing this program and asked for people's complaints. And one of the complaints was, especially for people who've been in the business a while, to not use your headshot from 20 years ago so that I can actually recognize you when I meet you. So I thought that was a common one and a kind of humorous, but probably all too common for people not to update their headshots. So yeah. I think that's also one of the keys.
Yeah, and I wish I could say I totally agree with that, but that headshot that I have is from 50 pounds ago, and it may stay with me for a while. But anyway, couple of the questions that we have, Lynn, I know you're asking about the app, and it's this right here, the mysignature.io. And it's in the link in the chat link if you want to go through to get that. And it does not only work for iPhones. There is another brand of it that will work for what's the other kind of phone? Because I don't use anything other than Apple.
Android.
Android. Okay. It is good for that too. All right. And some of you do also know when you're making your signatures, you do have to check with your company. Sometimes your company will have disclaimers that need to be added to it too. So just make sure you're checking with your broker. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right. Communication issues, reading and following directions. I'm sure we have all had fun with this. All had fun with this. So one of the main things that I see with this is when you're on the MLS, not actually reading the agent notes. And it's a common problem because we can sometimes, I'll put directions in there for everything from what date I'm expecting to review all the offers to what the settlement date is that the seller is looking for. And I'll get the question 20 times. What day do they want to move? What day do they want to move? What day do they want to move? So it's really helpful if you spend the time reading what's actually written in the MLS. And I'm still one of those old school people that will print the full size agent full version of whatever I'm showing. So I have it with me in case there are questions from a buyer. But I know a lot of people aren't trying to kill the paper or or the ink that they're using, but it's just been a preference that I've had. What about you, Scott? What are you running into?
So as far as that goes, I think a lot of it is communication and, you know, talking to the listing agent, not obviously asking the questions that have already been answered. But a lot of it is just coming down to communication. And when we talked to Lisa Fry about common complaints coming in for professional standards, almost all of them came down to, I shouldn't say all, but a vast majority could have been avoided by better communication, by talking to the other agent, talking to the other broker if that doesn't work, having your broker talk to the other broker, and then as maybe a last resort, consulting your attorney. But basically, it's not ghosting people. And the other thing about talking to your clients is too many agents speak for their clients without actually asking them what they want to do. So they'll say, my client's not taking that. I won't let them do that. It's not your decision.
Right.
So stop doing that, please. Talk to your clients, give them all the information, let them make the decision and tell you what to do. When another agent calls you and said, well, will your client do this or not, just say, I'll get back to you. So we found a lot of things could be avoided if you actually communicate.
I agree wholeheartedly, especially about making sure you're talking to your clients. I think it's something that you and I, because we've been in the business as long as we have gotten very used to making sure that the clients are making the final decision. But I see it all too often with younger agents that they're negotiating like they're buying a car, and it's not their decision or choice to make some of the responses that they're sending out there, and they really do need to run all of that by their clients. All right. The next point that we had pulled out, this is primarily one of the points that I love to push, and that's because I teach the safety class often, and I think it's something that we, especially now, have to pay more attention to. I don't think when I learned so much more when I started to teach this class, and one of the things that I did learn is that our profession is actually one of the top 5 most dangerous professions out there based on the incidences that we've seen happen. So we need to know what we can use and how to protect ourselves with that. And not everybody knows that BCAR offers the app for safe showings as part of our membership with BCAR. And did you guys, were you able to, Lisa, were you able to put the link in for where to find it with BCAR? Because
I put it in up top, so it's the second link down from the chat.
Okay. Scott, why don't you share with us how often you use this and what features you like the most about it?
So there's several different ways to stay safe at showings. The safe showings app, 1 second. Is my screen being shared? No, wait 1 second.
I'll stop. Give me 1 second.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the Safe Showings app on our BCAR. The link is in the chat.
Stop right there. One thing I'll point out to you, go back up to 1. One thing I'll make sure everybody doesn't do what I did, and that is download from the App Store, because then you're not connected to the BCAR version. So you've got to go to this number 1 and click that download. So pull it up in a web browser on your phone and download it from the web browser. And you're going to have a much better experience than I did trying to load it the first time. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just suggest that you just watch the 2-minute video. It'll take you through everything. Gives you the whole Safe Showing Safety Toolkit. That link works. Well, that's taking me all the Dropbox. Okay, so forget that. It'll work when I'm not in this chat, in this in Zoom. And then there's the support. So the other thing that we have also, if you're using showing time, that there's a feature for giving out your lockbox code. And if you set it properly, then it won't give out the lockbox code until the agent is at the property and within a half hour of their appointment time. We've been having a lot of complaints of agents just giving out lockbox codes to buyers and buyers going in unaccompanied to properties. This is one way to help to cut down on that.
Yeah, and this is something that I really have started implementing a lot. I do get a lot of pushback from people not liking it, but they need to understand the benefits of it. I first started using it after I saw the effects of one. It was not my listing, but it was across the street from where I live, and it was a property that was nicely priced, I should say, for what it had to offer. But very original. The lady that had passed away, and it was an estate sale, had been living in there for close to 60 years. So it was all originally inside. And literally, I spoke with a listing agent because I was just floored at the number of showings that were going on. When I showed it twice, each time there were more than 6 different sets of people in the house. And 4 of those sets did not come with their realtor. And when talking with one of those buyers, she just said, well, he couldn't make it, so they just gave us the code to get in. And they just willy-nilly walked in while we were all there. And it just really set me on edge as far as feeling comfortable with who was there. I called the agent. They didn't seem to be very concerned about it. And it just, I didn't feel safe as an agent leaving, not knowing how many other people were in there. Now this was back in the heat of the spring market, but it really made me stop and think a bit. And then I started researching the safe showings that Showing Time has, and what it does, you can adjust the timings with it, but if you click to allow it, then that code will not be visible by the agent scheduling the showing until however you set it, 30 minutes to an hour prior to the showing happening. Now, not everybody even has the Showing Time app on their phone, so they need to at least download that, or they're not going to get the little bing that shows up and says, hey, you're at the property. But it is also a good reminder to agents that you are not allowed to share that code. As much as I love Supra, and I would wish everybody would be able to use it, I know we're not going to win that battle because that's been there for a while, but sharing the code is not another alternative to making things easier.
And with that Showing Time app, we also have that safety beacon, and I believe we also have that on the Home Snap app, so that you can set your GPS, your location, and if you feel like you're in trouble, it basically sends out an alert. So
yes, it does.
You have those features there. I'm sorry,
one more thing I'll add to it too, when you're setting up your listings, you can not allow overlapping showings. You can change your time frame to a half an hour. You can adjust these things. I know it automatically comes in with like a 2-hour time frame or a 15-minute time frame, however it's loading, but you can set those parameters when you're loading the property in. And a lot of people just keep to the automatic defaults, and they should adjust it a little bit.
So a couple other things dealing just with showings and safety practices. One, especially with rental listings, you really have to make sure that you're safe, especially if you're meeting somebody for the first time. And that goes back to something that I learned early on in a Floyd Wickman Sweat Hogs class, which was CITO everyone, CITO everyone. That stands for come into the office. So you want everybody to meet them, not at the office, at a Starbucks, at a coffee shop, at a public place. You want to make sure that you have ID. preferably you've had them run through your lender first. So they've had their social security number, they have their credit, they know they're a real person, that they, that probably who they are, who they say they are. Check them out on social media. There's so many other things and ways that you can keep yourself safe before you just get a call and say, can I see your listing? And you drop everything and run and meet somebody you've never met before. So it's really up to us to keep ourselves safe. There's a lot of programs and apps and ways that we can do that, but you have to use them and you have to be smart about it. So there's no commission that's going to be worth your health, safety, or life.
And one other point that I'll go back to with the rentals, because I run into this all the time with them. I will often do a 1 hour open house and I'll place it on Bright. And it could be Tuesday night, it could be Saturday morning, it could be whatever time that it has that works for me. And then I respond to the multitude. I have one rental right now that I've had 150 responses to. And I'll send out, these are the 2 times that I'm showing the property. And they all know that there's multiple people that are going to be coming there. And I'll be there with another person. And of course, with the 20 people that respond to me, hey, yeah, I'm coming, 5 show up. So I'm not wasting my time working around other people's schedules when they're not going to actually come and commit to it. So that's another trick that I do with a lot of the rentals. But
one other thing during showings to keep in mind, and I know we have this in our buyer agency contract, our listing contract, it's about recordings on the property. So Pennsylvania has a anti-wiretapping law that says you can video record anybody with only one person's permission, the person who's recording it. But you can't audio record somebody without both parties' permissions. Well, Ring doorbell apparently doesn't care about Pennsylvania law or anything. Most of the video surveillances. So just advise your clients that they are most likely being recorded whenever they are on or around the property. And just be careful about what they say and how they act. The other thing is, from a seller's perspective, if they have like an Alexa or something, they may want to turn it off during showings so that they don't inadvertently do something that they shouldn't, or that somebody doesn't inadvertently say, hey, Alexa, set the alarm for 3 a.m. and play horror movie sounds. So it works both ways. You want to make sure that, that your clients, at least you go over those paragraphs of the listing and buyer agency contracts with your clients before you show the first property.
yeah, that's a very good point. Because I'm running into that a lot more often too, as we're going through properties that a lot of people are working from home now, and a lot of times they're putting, cameras up and stuff like that because they've got stuff that they feel like they're protecting, but they're not disclosing it. And that's something that we need to, as listing agents, make sure that we're communicating. So one more thing, as I'm looking through the chat, I know that many people have shared that, yes, a lot of agents are having no problem with sharing the code. I will be perfectly honest with you. I believe that this is a code of ethics violation, and that we may start seeing, if we continue with this, some people brought before the board because of that violation. So there's a lot going on in the court system, and I think we're going to start to see some of that if it continues. All right, so moving on. Sorry, I got to move the screen around. All right, so managing your client's expectations. Scott, I know this is a lot of your wheelhouse, so I'm going to let you run through with it.
We talked a little bit about this earlier. Stop making decisions for your clients without communicating to them. The next thing that it has as a note on here is keep the conversations open. This is a lot of managing their expectations. Really comes down to having those conversations up front with them. I really like to give my clients the consumer's guide to the agreement of sale. That walks them through the entire process, answers a lot of questions, manages a lot of the expectations, kind of tells them all the things that could happen, through the transaction or that are involved with the agreement. I find that's a great conversation starter, as well as walking them through the agreement itself. And as you go through the agreement with your clients, and I'm talking about a buyer and your initial buyer consultation, because you say in this market, you're going to be, time consumed and worried and nervous enough about the house. Once you find it, you're not going to have a long time to think about it, to make a decision and to write the agreement. So you're going to be just worried about filling in the blanks, but you're not going to be reading all the pre-printed stuff. So up front, before you even see the first house, is a good time to go through that agreement. It'll bring up a lot of the buyer's concerns when you start going through things. When they talk about, they think the septic system, they may say, oh, I only want public water and sewer. So you will bring up some of their expectations, some of their concerns, some things that may not come up in their search by just going through the consumer's guide and the agreement of sale. Some of the other things we'll talk about is the benefits of sellers pre-inspections. That's liability, and also for as far as disclosure requirements go from your seller's perspective. But when buyers are waiving inspections, there's a huge liability there. So I find that it allows sellers several things. It allows them to deal with the issues up front and fix them and get their repair people on their time frame, not under the pressure of the ticking clock on the agreement. And as I said, that most sellers don't know what they don't know. The first question on that seller property disclosure is, are you an expert in real estate construction, architecture, other stuff like that? If that answer is no, kind of take the rest of the seller disclosure with a grain of salt. They don't know what they don't know.
I think it's interesting when we first started planning to do this training that we both didn't realize that we were doing the same thing, and that is getting most of our sellers to do these pre-inspections because of the fear that we both had of what was coming down the pike.
And that goes with home warranties, pre-sale inspections. There's a lot of things that we can do to protect our clients before, during, and after the transaction, but it takes being proactive. So one of the other things that you had, Barb, was the whole harmless when there is no inspection and the buyer's waiving it and the seller didn't get one. I recommend that at the very least that you use for your protection, get a home inspection, the FHA form, whether it's FHA sale, cash sale, or anything. Just have them sign that form because it tells them the importance of a home inspection. And a lot of brokers have their own forms.
Yeah, they do. And I will tell you that it still does not necessarily, having a buyer waive a hold harmless still does not necessarily protect a seller against the fact that they may have known something and didn't add that into the seller's disclosure. Do you want to talk a little bit about Seller's Shield?
So there are, do we have that?
Do we have that on another slide coming up? Yeah, we'll talk about this in a little
we'll get
bit.
to that in a minute then.
Yeah, okay. All right. One more point that I wanted to add to with what you were talking about with the buyer, with the agreement of sale, disclosure, that is is a 11 or 12 page form that is both a buyer's version and a seller's version. And it is in zip forms. And a lot of people don't even know that it's there. And the second page in is a page that allows you to get a signature that, hey, I gave this to you. And it's simple and it's easy. And I'm so shocked at how many times when I'll teach a class that nobody knew that they had that opportunity. So.
We'll get to the section on Know Your Forms when we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay. All right. We'll move on. All right. So we had talked a little bit more about this. I guess I had this a little bit out of order, but never giving the codes and the secure showing feature on showing time. I had added that into the other slide. So I will always stress the 30-minute time frame is about all that you really need. The nice thing about that is it does help prevent the overlapping. All right. Okay.
So the Know Your Form. So we'll start with the Seller Shield. We used to have another program too, I forget. Anyway, Seller Shield is through PAR. And what they really want to do is they want to sell legal protection, like an insurance policy. So if somebody gets sued in the transaction, they would have protection for with attorneys. But the other thing is it takes the seller through the seller's property disclosure statement line by line, and helps them to complete it properly. It's not perfect. It still allows sellers to not answer questions, which I don't think, they're supposed to answer every question. It's either yes, no, unknown, or not applicable. It's got to be one of those. But it's a great way for your seller, better than I found through .loop or zip forms for them to try to complete it. It's a real good way to complete it. Generally, I have them completed. It sends it a copy, and then I can go over it with them, and we can type it into whatever form software that you may be using. Just enter the data right from them there. So just an easy way to get the data back from your sellers.
Okay. All right. We were also discussing the guideline for forms so that agents understand the forms that they're using a little bit better, because we've had some major changes with the forms at PAR this past year. And I'm still surprised at how many people don't know. One of the things that we did at PAR is we have started to release them just twice a year. It's usually July, and it's usually early in the year. I don't want to say January, but it's probably February or March, that we'll see these forms come out. And you can go on the PAR website and you can actually see the change in language. They're usually addressed in either red or blue print and where they are on there. And you can get a fully digested version of, why did we go to what we did and when did we do it?
So I'm sharing my screen now and showing all of the updates and the release dates. So you'll see most of them are going to be July or January.
Right.
But these are the most recent releases. And then if you click on one, there's the red blue version. Gonna make me download it. See if it works. And
Yeah.
This doesn't have the changes in it though. But there are versions that we have on there that show you the actual changes.
Yeah.
But the key thing is that for every one of our forms, there's a guideline. And I suggest that, one, when I teach the forms, I say, read the agreement of sale. I mean, every word, front to back, both sides, just read the whole agreement. I don't care if you're never going to sell a house with septic, read that paragraph too. Just read it, because now you're in the top 10% of all agents, because 90% have never read the whole thing.
Right.
Now pull out the guidelines and read them, and now you're in the top 5%, because 95% don't know they even exist. And now take that consumer's guide to the agreement of sale and read that, because that'll basically help you to explain everything in layman's terms. And if you have those three things that you're pretty familiar with under your belt, I think you're going to have a much better chance of writing a successful agreement of sale for your clients.
Yeah. So are there any of the most recent changes that you've seen come across with the,
I'm sorry, Barb, you got to reshare your screen.
I will. What I was trying to say is that some of the most recent changes, are you seeing, what I'm trying to get to is the new changes to the appraisal addendum that we've had in there. I have found this so many times when I'm presenting an offer to another agent, I have to actually go through it with them and explain to them the difference between option one and option two and what the point to the appraisal form is. And some of them I can tell have had experience with it before, or they've had a broker tell them not to use it, or somebody in the office tell them don't. And some of that rationale or that thinking is why we made some of the changes at PAR to the new form and where it's at.
Correct.
So
that form can also be used for appraisal gaps. So
right.
It's not just that it has to appraise for the sale price, but it only has to appraise for 20,000 under the sale price. So
right.
there's different ways to use that form also. You just have to know the differences. And if you don't know them, like I said, there's the guidelines. And if you still don't understand it, call the legal hotline.
Yeah. And I would say, honestly, that's one of the forms that everybody should go back, spend their time, read it, try and digest it. because it really, really, really is a significant improvement to helping us deal with what happens if it doesn't appraise. And that's what the point of the form is.
And the other thing we have here is to stop adding language to your forms. That is most often going to be the unauthorized practice of law. And the law says that whoever authors the form, if it is vague, then it will be decided against you. So if you put in wording like home inspection for informational purposes only, don't do that. Number one, Hank Lerner wrote a wonderful PAR just listed piece on that exact thing. I used to send that to other agents when they send me an agreement with that wording in there.
Yeah.
But yes, so before you add any wording to some form that the Standard Forms Committee has spent 17 hours debating 3 words, whether it should be shall, will, or shouldn't, until you understand what goes into it, don't add words to it without at least talking to your broker and then maybe the PAR legal hotline or your own attorney.
Yeah, getting somebody to look at what you wrote. Yep. All right. Don't know what we. Okay, this is a good one too. So this is something that I see often with a lot of new agents or even existing agents, that they've reached their 14 hours for CE every. It shouldn't say every 2 hours, but every 2 years. Sorry, guys. And they feel like that's all they have to complete. And the reality of it is, I tell my agents all the time that the only thing they need to remember from the courses they took to get their license is there's 43,560 square feet in an acre, because that's literally the only number they're going to end up using of any sense for getting their license. Everything else is learned from doing, and then also from the classes you take after. And some of the best stuff that's out there is actually not even a CE validated class. It's an ongoing beef that I have with our commission, but anyway, we'll bring that up at another time. The point that I'm trying to make is get yourself, dive deep, try and figure out what direction you want to go in. If you're working more with buyers, then you need to look at your ABR. If you're working, if you've been at this for a bit and you actually want to look at how to get your PhD in real estate, CRS is the PhD in real estate, and they have some excellent teachers. If you're working with distressed properties, there are several really good distressed property designations that you can get. Seniors, the SRES. If you're working towards getting your brokers, there's some great classes for getting your brokers. Just don't think that it has to happen every 2 years just for a CE limit. I think that's what makes you and helps you stand out from above the rest.
And with that, there's other resources to keep looking and educating yourself on a daily basis, and outside of just self-education. Make sure you subscribe to Realtor Magazine.
Yeah.
PAR Just Listed, that blog. Every week you're going to get some good information from them. NAR, if you go to their website and you log in, not the NAR.realtor one, not the realtor.com one. Go to the NAR's website, log in, and you can pick the topics that interest you, and you can log into the hub and follow discussions on a national level on topics that interest you, so you can really stay up to date on things. The SRA website, the municipal blog that goes every week of all the updates of what's going on county by county. Something that as realtors we pledge to stay abreast of real estate laws and changes in real estate. So that's some way to do it. And then our own Bucks County Association of Realtors and the Bucks County Real Estate Institute certainly have great resources and websites. On our BCAR website, there are video series on professionalism. And I give a plug to Christie's her podcast that she's been doing. Is a terrific way to stay up to date on a lot of topics. So make sure that you stay engaged and that you it's never ending. It's one of the things I love about this business, because after 36 plus years in the business, every week I say, there's something new. So yep. there's I always say that, I used to think I knew everything, and now I know how little I know, because every week I learn something new, and I'm like, didn't know that before. So
Or
it's
the
very,
market-
it's very humbling.
Yeah. Or the
knowing
market
the state of
changes.
business.
The market changes and throws us so many curveballs that we have to like punt. So Lisa, did you want to talk about the broker class that BCAR is offering?
Yeah, starting October 3rd, and it's every month for it's every Monday for 5 weeks, October 3rd through the 31st. Alex Schneider is teaching one of the required classes to obtain your broker license. It's on the real estate law class. It's a fantastic class. We've got a lot of information in it, and it will give you, provides 30 CE hours. So you'll have your CE pretty much done for the year, except for the mandatory class. And you'll also get 2 broker credits. We also are offering ABR and SRES this fall with Matt Mittman and Pat Moyers teaching SRES. They're all in the link. And then Anne Marie just posted about our, we have a leadership academy coming up. That, Anne Marie, do you want to talk briefly about that as well?
Sure. So the board of directors and Pam Croak have designed a class for the Bucks County Association of Realtors for our members so that they can be completely educated in leadership. They reached out to independent, motivational speakers, as well as resources within our association to create a 5-class session in which you can develop not only yourself, but also the network around you. So if anybody's interested, reach out to me, send me a chat, email. I'll gladly go ahead and post in a minute. I just haven't gotten that far. The fabulous speakers that we have, like I said, they're out of the real estate business and also within the real estate business. And it looks like it'll be a fabulous time. Lynn Shearer, I think, is on, and she's one of those people that attended. I think, Lynn, your little video will be on there, and I see a few other people that may have attended as well. So if you want to give any testimonies, feel free to do it.
And Leadership Academy is at no cost to you.
Yes.
BCAR is picking up the tab. So just so
Nice.
you know, you'll get all this leadership experience and all this knowledge for no fee, which I don't know, Lynn, did you want to say anything as current president about our education or about anything coming up in terms of education? Sorry to put you on the spot, Lynn.
That's okay. I can attest to the Leadership Academy. So can Scott, because we were actually in the same class. But the Leadership Academy was very helpful, not only in my actions with the association, but also in my life. And I mean, I use a lot of stuff I learn, I use every day. So I use it in negotiation and interacting with other agents. So it was helpful all around. It's well worth the time invested, and the time invested is really only, I think, 2 full days and 3 half days. So it's not a lot of time, but it's very powerful.
I'll
So-
second that you're going to get out of it 10 times what you put into it. So, and it's the gift that keeps giving. So I've been through the Bucks County and the Pennsylvania Association's leadership and several of the national leadership courses. And every single one that you go through, it has been, or at least for me, it's been helpful and impactful.
And the other thing that you don't think about is the bond that you form with your classmates. It's been what, Scott, 5 years, maybe?
I think so.
I think like 5 years. And we are still, all of us, the whole class is still in contact and still very comfortable with each other. And first off, it makes your transactions much easier when you're doing one with a person, but also as you go into, should you decide to go into leadership, it's nice to always have somebody in the room that you know.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, applications are due September 1st, correct, Dan Marie? So next week.
Yep, that is correct. September 1st is the deadline. And then we'll be running the class starting September 7th.
And can I add one more thing? Not
Yeah,
for the
sure.
leadership, but I do have one more thing. Because September 1st triggered a memory. We are accepting applications for Bucks County Association of Realtors directors. So if you want to get into leadership, you want to know what's going on, and you want to actually have a say in what's going on, apply to become a director. And the director position needs to be, that application needs to be in again by September 1st. If you want to know more about being a director, you can always give me a call.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, we have about 10 minutes left, and I just wondered if we wanted to open it up for any conversation. I've seen some of the chat going back and forth, but anybody want to throw out any comments or questions or anything that they've encountered that they have?
One of the
questions?
things I just wanted to throw out there, Barb, was this reducing risk in your business. And this was a recording that we did with somebody from Pearl Insurance. They said that the number one misrepresentation or the number one claim against agents was misrepresentation of property. And I just wanted to reiterate that by going back to the need for that pre-sale home inspection.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that I wanted to point out is the Pathways to Professionalism from NAR really talks about respect for the public, respect for property, and respect for peers. That's a great way to stay out of Realtor Jail. Just follow that.
Yes, it is. All right. Anybody want to add anything? Feel free to jump on. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to reflect or to echo what Lynn said about being a B card director. I've been one now for like 6 years, maybe 7. I think I jumped in on somebody else's term. Here's what I'll tell you. The reason I did it was to be on the front end of what was going on in our industry so that I could help my company. What I found out was we could help a lot of companies doing it that way. Just being involved, just understanding what's going on, just having an idea of how the whole process works has helped us exponentially. So, you know, if I could put a plug in for it, and the people aren't half bad either. So you'll
One of the best
definitely,
perks was getting to meet Ken.
you'll definitely benefit from the experience. So if you have any inclination at all to do it, you should.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that.
You got it.
Anyone else want to chime in?
Question in the chat, Yoshika.
Yes.
Go ahead, Yoshika.
Oh, I'm
So-
sorry. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I just had a rent back transaction. It was literally like the second rent back transaction I had. And the first one seemed like that was the way it was supposed to go. And I even wrote, read the post settlement addendum form. And I called PAR. I talked to my broker. Is there anything in the PAR website or NAR website with how agents should handle rent backs after settlement? Because the one agent, well, when we did the transaction, we both knew that we pretty much were done or thought we were done after settlement. But then another agent was saying that she was informed that the agent still had to stay involved until the seller vacates the property.
A lot of it, I guess, depends on who's holding escrow and if there's an escrow and what the terms of your rent back are. But I'm going to read just something from section 35-287 of the Licensing Act. It says a salesperson may assist in property management if the salesperson's work is supervised and controlled by the employing broker. The salesperson may not independently negotiate the terms of a lease or execute a lease on behalf of the lessor. One of the number one claims from that Pearl Insurance, the E&O insurance seminar, was having to do with property management claims. That was, I think, one of their number one claims. We, as if you are not a broker, then you really shouldn't, and I know that it's not technically a lease on a rent back, but it could be. It's a possession addendum. So it really depends on the wording. And then, the answer to every legal question that if you'll ask Jim Goldsmith is it depends. So it really the
Yeah.
specifics of your situation may depend on, and
So
probably should discuss them with an attorney.
one of the key things with that addendum, though, that I have seen and has been discussed at PAR is that addendum is typically meant to be no more than 30 days. If you're going to end up with a lease back that you're doing between buyer and seller for more than 30 days, it really should be the full PAR lease that you're using for that time frame. So
Okay.
keep that in mind, because that lease is much longer and covers a lot more terminology than just what the post-settlement possession addendum does.
Okay, thank you.
I also think the policy should be, and again, check with your broker on it.
Yeah, agree.
Try to avoid it at all costs. The post-settlement possession addendum, like Barb said, 30 days max. But even at that, I mean, you run the risk of check with your broker and try to avoid it. If there's another way to do it, you should try to explore that.
Okay, thank you. Because sometimes I feel like, well, with this transaction, we were up against multiple offers.
Yes.
The seller wanted to select our offer contingent upon a rent back.
Yeah, a lot of sellers are looking for that. And I
Mm,
understand because of the nature of the market, and they need to be sure that they can get what they want.
sure.
One of the key things that I've seen from the listing side with that is that not having that deep fold conversation with the seller going, are you what happens if you
Where you
don't
going?
get?
Yeah.
What happens
Yeah.
if you don't find something within that time frame? Because you need to understand you're not staying. This is
Right.
it. You know?
So having said that, that's why it's important to run your forms by an attorney, because we put in a clause for holdover tenancy. So the seller, you may put in $0 per day for 30 days or whatever it is, but then you should have something in there that says after which the fee will be $500 a day or whatever, some really high number to discourage them from staying on. So if you go to court, because if you go to court and they stay longer than 30 days, what was their rent per day? $0. That's what they owe you per day.
Right.
So these are things, like I said, that important to talk to your broker, but
Okay.
important to have an attorney draft those types of things, because there's too many scenarios and eventualities that you're not going to think about and put in that form. So
Okay.
better take
Thank
the risk off yourself.
Great.
Yes, thank you.
Some good questions. Anybody else have anything they want to ask? No? Well, it is the middle of the day, so I hope everybody is enjoying the last bits of summer before we get started with school again and into a heavier market. So
I just want to thank all of you for attending today, and of course, Barb and Scott, and Lynn and Ken for your comments. Thank you. And as a reminder, this is being recorded. It will be sent out to everyone along with the PowerPoint. Please share this with people in your offices. I think this was a phenomenal program, and it's something that everyone really should watch or listen to. And if you have any further questions, contact one of us on staff, myself or Anne Marie Allen. Also, if you have any ideas for these type of 1 hour power series learning that we're doing every month, shoot me an email, give me a call. We'd love to hear from you. And again, Scott and Barb, congrats on your new grandbabies.
oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
I walked into a house a month ago and there was a sign there that said, if given the choice, I would have been a grandparent first. 100% on point.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone, have a great rest of your day.
Yep.
Thank
Good seeing
you.
Thank you all
everyone.
for attending. Take care.
Thanks.